Hey Gender Career Chat, Joe here, Fridays with Joe. And this week our topic is same-sex marriage. What are your thoughts on same-sex marriage? Is marriage a relevant issue for you? Should marriage be the main goal of the LGBTQ movement? Okay, so just before I touch on the topic, something just is on my mind and I just wanted to talk about it. I just got back from work and I work at one particular high school where the teacher teaches design, like it's architectural drawings and stuff like that. We installed AutoCAD on their computers today. And he's such a binary guy. This guy thinks in the binary. There's very few girls in his class. But he's always calling them ladies, ladies. And anyway, today he sent an email to my colleague and I, who were there all morning trying to figure out how to get this AutoCAD thing to work. And he addressed the email to ladies, because my colleague and I both present as female. And it really annoyed me. So I think I'm going to talk to him about it tomorrow. I'm kind of excited because I think what I'm going to say is that luckily in our school board system we have a lot of positive space training and stuff like that. So but a lot of the gym teacher type guys who work at the school board don't, they have to abide by this stuff because it's board policy. So tomorrow I think I'm going to say to him, are you familiar with did you guys have to have positive space training, and is this school, queer positive or something? I'll say something along those lines. And then when he says yes, I'm going to say, well, I don't know if you know that you do this, or if I don't know if you realize that some people perceive it as offensive, but you refer to a lot of people as ladies, including myself, and I don't care for it. So anyway, just thought I'd touch on that. Okay, so the subject this week is marriage. First off, I'm almost 40 years old. I'm not married, never been married, no intention of ever getting married. So is marriage relevant to me? No, not at all. I am not the marrying kind, as they say. I love that expression, not the marrying kind. It used to have overtones. It used to mean you were a lesbian, or it used to mean you were a spinster, or all these things. Now it just means I'm not the marrying kind. I have no intention of ever getting married. Unless there are like a couple of certain circumstances under which I would get married, and they're basically financial or legal. So if there was a reason where money would be going to taxation, if I could get the money instead of it going to taxes or something like that, I would do it. If somebody was dying, for example, or if there were legal reasons for immigration, I would possibly do it. I still don't agree with it, but I understand the need for it for legal reasons. And legal reasons only. I have no romantic notions about marriage whatsoever, and I really dislike that marriage is usually the foundation for the word family, because I think family, just don't get me started on the word family. One time at work, a lady said to me, oh, I just said the word lady. A colleague said to me, oh, well, because I was talking about how I travel a lot. And she said, well, of course you travel a lot. You don't have a family. And I got right mad at her and I said, of course I have a family. I said, and they're very supportive of my decision to travel as extensively as I do. And she didn't know what to say because, of course, she meant children. Because in everybody's world, a family is your spouse and children, and not your family of origin, which is, your birth parents or whatever, the people you choose to spend your life with. So yeah, that being said, my sister is 40, just turned 40, and her spouse is 72, and they've been together for 14 years. So when she was 26 and he was 58, they got together. And at that time, he had just come out of a coma, and he had had a heart attack and all this. And everyone thought she was with him for the money, and it was just such a convoluted. Now, he has been through 3 marriages, and he has very strong opinions about his finances being his business. And my sister's the same way. Her finances are her business. So they've never merged their finances. He pays her rent, and his finances are his business, and hers are hers. And of course, if I ever got into a situation like a living together situation, it would be the same way with me. I feel very strongly about that. My money is my money. I worked hard to get to this point in life, and I'm not going to share it with you. And I don't expect you to share yours with me, quite frankly. And I know that's a strange viewpoint, but that's the way it is. And my sister is funny because she's been with this guy for 14 years, and that's how it's always been. Also, they have separate rooms, which interestingly, my parents always have had separate bedrooms. And even when I was living with my ex-boyfriend, we had separate bedrooms because I believe you need your space. And yeah, I just feel very strongly you should have your own room. Maybe wasn't there a book, A Room of One's Own? Anyhow, now whether or not they have sex, of course, nobody's business, but he has had several surgeries and he's on blood thinners, so let's just, for the sake of argument, presume they don't. Is it anybody's business? No. So first off, separate bedrooms, probably don't have sex, separate finances. What does that mean exactly? Well, I will tell you that I had a female roommate last year, and we had separate finances, separate bedrooms, and we didn't have sex. And she was my friend, and she was my roommate. And for all intents and purposes to the world, we were roommates. And yet, my sister and her boyfriend are considered spouses in the eyes of the law, if they choose to go down that way. Now, I don't think they've ever filed their taxes that way. However, last year he had a heart attack. He had major heart failure, and he was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and he was knocking on death's door, quite frankly. And she was referred to as his spouse by all and sundry. All the doctors treated her as if she were his spouse. She presented no ring, no paperwork. She didn't have to say, I'm his wife, although I think she did. And I just think that's hilariously funny, that you can just present yourself as someone's spouse and be treated as such, at least in Canada. I don't know how it is in the U.S. But, and that's another thing. I was just watching Stefan's video. I'm making this video earlier in the week. I'll upload it later. But Stefan was saying how, something about, marriage, fighting for marriage rights. Well, Canada has gay marriage and has had it for many, many years. And it's not something anybody fights for anymore. It just is. It's just part of the landscape. If anything, what happened was in the years following gay marriage being legalized in Canada, was that some of these couples were now getting divorced. And there were no divorce laws on the books for gay couples, because all of the divorce laws referred to the wife and the husband and so forth. So a lot of laws had to be rewritten, and it was kind of funny in retrospect. But, so that brings me to the point of, marriage is, it's a legal agreement, one of which I don't agree with, because I think any other legal agreement that you get into, for instance, if you and I were to start a business together and we wrote up a contract saying that we were going to go into business together and this is your role in the business and this is my role in the business, it would be unheard of if we put a clause in there that said, if you cheat on me, if you have sex with someone else, or if you blow someone else, then the contract is null and void. That's just a very strange concept to me from a legal perspective. And because marriage is religious and, romantically notioned. And so you either look at it that way or you look at it as a legal contract. I look at it as a legal contract. And as a legal contract, it's a stupid one. It's one that doesn't really, I think, hold up in a court based on its own merits, which is to say if it's a partnership of some sort, while other partnerships don't have those kinds of stipulations, which I think is nutters. I don't know how this fits into what I'm saying right now, but it's on my mind, so I need to say it. I just watched the most amazing Chris Rock clip from a show, and maybe I'll put the link. It was a YouTube clip from the TV radio show called Q that I listen to every day on CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And I really, really, really dislike Chris Rock 90% of the time. He's really misogynist, extremely misogynist. But he made an amazing comment about how far blacks have come and the progress they've made. And the way I wish I could get the quote perfectly, but he said something like, blacks haven't made progress. He said, Whitey became less crazy. That's what happened, was that Whitey was crazy for many, many generations. For instance, disallowing blacks to sit on the same bus section of the bus as you. And then over time, Whitey became less crazy. Because to imply progress would mean you had to start from a point that maybe you deserve to be at and work hard to get ahead. Well, you never deserved to be there in the first place. So as it relates to gay marriage, it's not like gays have made progress in getting, the right to be legally married. It's that heterosexist, cisgendered culture, binary culture, stop being crazy for long enough to realize, oh yeah, okay, so other people should have human rights too, besides ourselves. That's sort of my take on it. But I still don't think marriage is something to be, like, the right to be married and the privilege. I don't even understand what that means. If it means tax benefits, I guess I get it, but I still don't understand why my roommate and I couldn't have filed taxes together and received some sort of benefits. I mean, we were in the same domestic situation as my sister and her spouse were. So, and I know tons and tons of people who are so unhappily married. So happiness has nothing to do with it. Whether or not you're having sex has nothing to do with it. Presence of children has nothing to do with it. So what exactly is marriage? Lots of people are in marriages of convenience where one is financially dependent on the other. And I was just talking to the caretaker at work today, and she was saying her husband brings home the big paycheck and she makes him dinner every night. And she says, I don't love him. I haven't loved him for 20 years, but this is what we do. And they're married in the eyes of the law. So do with that information what you will. So is marriage a relevant issue for me? No, not at all. But I do understand that it was necessary for gays, well, for instance, blacks and whites to fight for the right to have interracial marriage, for gays to fight for the right to have gay marriage. I agreed with another thing Stefan said, which was like, where does trans fit into all this? Because when you're talking marriage, it's two people getting married, and their genders really shouldn't matter. And while you're talking about two, why not 3 or 4? This gets into polyamory and all that stuff. And if you want to make a legal contract with several people where you're going to agree to financially support each other or have power of attorney over one another or whatever, you should be able to do that. You really should be able to do that legally under whatever contract, whatever civil union contract, whatever contract you want to sign. But, the fact that it's called marriage, or the fact that it's called marriage under certain circumstances, to me is nutters. Should this be the main goal of the LGBTQ movement? Obviously not. I mean, marriage is just one social construct that tends to be, revered by one certain type of a type of society that enjoys the concept of marriage or the idea of marriage. This actually makes me laugh because I've recently got quite involved in the atheist online community. I think I've decided I'm atheist. It's been a hard battle. I know I was pantheist a while back, but I jumped the fence. Anyway, so in the atheist community, I have a lot of atheist friends who celebrate Christmas, and this makes me crazy. And it's none of my business. I mean, you should be able to do whatever the hell you want to do. But I just think it's so obviously a Christian celebration, and you can pretend it's not, but it is. So I don't know how you can call yourself atheist and celebrate Christmas. However, tons of atheists do it. Just like tons of people who really have no business being married, i.e. Britney Spears and her 55-hour marriage or whatever, have no business being married in the eyes of the people who think marriage is a big deal. But she got married. She has the right to call it a marriage if that's what it is. I still think the whole thing's kind of kooky. I don't get it. I'm not the marrying kind. I never have been. A guy at work, he's 21 or 22 years old, and I don't know for a fact because he's never said so, but I'm pretty sure he comes from an evangelical Christian family, and I'm pretty sure that's why he's getting married in a few months' time. And it's funny because all of us at work, I think in like civilized society, when someone announces that they're getting married, the nice thing to say is, "Oh, congratulations," and no one at work has said that to him. All of us have been like, "Wow, you're pretty young to be coming to that." I mean, it's rude. We're quite rude to the fellow. However, I mean, it is a different era. People don't get married in their early 20s anymore. There's really no reason to. And actually, the only reason I can think of are financial. For instance, one of my best friends got married when she was 20, and they're still together 15, 20 years later. But because he was in the military, and she could get benefits and travel with him and go to where he was going if she was his spouse, which is just stupid that you can't do that on a common law situation or even as a friend. You should be able to have a family member, whoever that might be, my sister, my best friend, my husband, whatever, be my person that I'm bringing with me. If that's, if it's a +1 situation. Speaking of which, I'm going to a gay wedding. It's my first gay wedding, even in Canada, even though we've had gay marriage for so long, and people do call it marriage. Like, they don't call it gay marriage necessarily. It's just marriage. There is an element of, my friend is getting gay married this summer. It's kind of like tongue-in-cheek. So this summer I'm going, but I was invited as a single, which always cracks me up because, everyone was invited as them plus their spouse, even though their spouse is an asshole and not really in the brides probably wouldn't even, is it brides? Is that the term? The betrothed? Don't even like the spouse of their friend. I just think it's crazy that you have to invite the spouse because that's just the nature of marriage in the world we live in. And yet I don't get to bring a person, the person that's important to me, if there is such a person. Anyway, rambled on long enough. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week. See you next week.